Welcome, bienvenue, and thanks for joining us on Breakfast Central. Hoping you had a restful night. We are back on the airwaves again. It starts with a lot of very interesting stories and a lot to worry about. But then again, don't worry, because we're here to tell you the solution and also point you towards a very positive direction regarding all the stories that we have lined up for you. My name is Joe Hansen, and I'm saying good morning and welcome to Breakfast Central. Good morning to you, Benga.
Good morning, Joe. It's great to be here, and sadly, events in the Middle East don't seem to be de-escalating anytime soon, and the implication of that is that we're still going to continue to pay high prices for energy. Well, we'll discuss many things in this in the course of today's broadcast. I am Benga Borowa. Welcome to Breakfast Central.
And I'm Olive Emodi. Olive in Olive. Really glad to be here. Thank you very much for joining us. And we hope that your week is coming to a subtle grind. Things are starting to wind down. You've been able to do most of the things you planned to do for the week. Of course, we're streaming live on News Central TV Live, where we have your comments and your contributions, as well as your objections, we'll be happy to take. So please do well to drop your comments in the chat box, and we'll refer to it from time to time. Gentlemen, good morning.
Good morning.
Olive was conspicuously missing. Yes,
we'll find out why I was conspicuously missing.
And people are
why do men see colors differently from women? If you were meant to ask, if you asked Joe, what color are you wearing? You'll say you're wearing green. Which one is olive again?
It's olive.
Olive is a name, not
okay, there's olive green.
Yes.
Yes, this is olive.
There's olive
this
green.
Is green. Army green.
Army. Anyways.
We're all entitled to our opinion.
Today is another day to look into the critical stories that affecting every single Nigerian.
Where's the bell of conscience?
The bell of conscience is coming. We've kept
why did you leave
No,
it?
I kept it somewhere. It will come now.
It should be a permanent fixture on
yeah,
Breakfast Central.
Yeah,
we've already
the bell of
adopted
conscience
it.
is around. So relax. The bell of conscience is that's it there. We'll bring it here. I don't want us to ring it this early morning. Let's ring it like
some people might still be sleeping. You might wake them
15, 20 minutes into. But we have to wake them up. We have to wake
Should
them
people still be sleeping, ideally, at 7 a.m.?
There's a lot going on.
Do you sleep on weekends?
So that's the funny thing.
Would you find yourself sleeping at
I
7?
try to, but sometimes, like, my body's already used to waking up at 4 a.m. So even when I try to, I'm forcing myself to get back. Yeah. It's not working.
It's called a circadian rhythm.
It's called what?
Circadian
rhythm. Your body is used to waking up at a particular area. You can look it up. You could Google it, G-U-G-U. Google it.
Google it. Google it.
Anyway, that story has also taken a different turn.
Oh, wow. Please give us the latest updates.
Transport workers. The Barua faction now have come out to also say that they are calling on the civil society organizations. They're calling on the NLC. They're calling on the NBA. They're asking everybody to jump in, that this is not really good, that by now, at least, people should respect the law, that so much.
You know, what I want to know is who authorized those soldiers to accompany, and the policemen to accompany, to accompany MC Oluomo to the NURTW secretariat headquarters in Abuja, because that's a flagrant abuse of power, use of armed forces personnel and security operatives. Under what guise? Who gave the order? So I hope we have answers very soon.
Anyway, Benga, take us through the first story. You can do the honors.
Wow, that's wonderful. Benga will take us through the story.
Oh yeah, I mean,
yes.
Things got good.
Yeah.
Okay, let's start with our first wake-up conversation. Residents of Jumai Estate in Aso area of Nasarawa State have fled their homes following a violent clash in the community. Eyewitnesses who spoke to News Central Television says the attack is believed to be a reprisal after a suspected herder was reportedly killed for allegedly trespassing on a farmland belonging to a resident. Tensions escalated shortly after the suspected individuals invaded the area, attacking residents and setting vehicles ablaze, while many others were forced to flee for their lives. News Central's correspondent Joshua Imarai was at the community and reports.
All right. Before we get into the report itself, just to mention that Nigeria has had this challenge with bandits. It's been an ongoing one, and the question now is, just for how much longer are we going to keep working in these cycles? This bandits clash, you check when you look. Oh, I can't even watch this video.
I mean, let's just put a warning there that I mean, whatever the scene you may see now can be very disturbing, but it shows the reprisal attacks that occurred immediately after. But let's watch the video. Let's listen to the audio. Let's watch the video first.
Jesus. I be one go out so.
These people know your guy. I know your guys, right? Jesus. This one careful. Lord of Jesus. Lord of Jesus. Sure. Now, so.
Well, this is Aso River along the Aso area of Nasarawa State. And earlier on today, suspected Fulani men attacked this community, touching houses. As you can see behind me, this is one of the houses that was touched. This is one of the few houses that were touched. What we can see now is that the complete building was razed by fire as a result of a retaliatory attack that was reportedly happened around the early hours of this morning. This is not the only building. If you should come with me, this is another building that was affected as a result of the attack. We gathered that nothing less than 5 buildings has been touched as a result of this attack. Not just this building, you can see a motorcycle. This building is still actively on fire. From what we can see, you can see the fumes emanating from this building. Beyond this motorcycle, beyond this building, there is a car here which has been completely burnt as a result of the attack. This is a Peugeot vehicle and it has been razed as a result of the attack. To get a feel of what happened here in the early hours of today and to get a feel of how the entire incident happened, that these houses were burnt, there is a gentleman here who would like to tell us what happened. Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Tell us your name.
My name is Barry Dogbarale.
Okay. Tell us what happened here that resulted into this building getting burnt.
We woke up this morning to discover that this environment was peaceful at first. So about 10 in the morning, between 10 and 11 a.m. in the morning, we heard a gunshot. So when we heard the gunshot and we tried to move around to check what was going on, we discovered that there was a man who is a vigilante or something who had shot a Fulani guy down. And before we could leave the place that we are, we discovered that the place was already being burned, houses were being attacked, people were being maimed, a lot of people. Like, we are getting information that almost 6 persons lost their life during the fight. I know I took some people to the hospital myself this morning. I took a lady to the hospital. I'm not sure then. Somebody called me this evening that the lady which I took to the hospital had already died. So we saw all this, not just here, across. the Fulani has their own settlement across this river, across the river, they are there. So the police came, tried to help, but the police were not efficient enough to go. And then the youths that were around tried to come out in a very large number to see how we can stop them. But not for the young people that were here that came out this afternoon. We don't know what has happened.
Let me get you clearly. What do you mean by the police were not efficient enough? What does that mean?
Number one, there was no rapid response from the part of the police. The police came in very late. It was really late. And when the police came, this thing happened over 3 hours. We couldn't get any security agent to come help us. It was just the youth trying to see how they could push the boys back, but the boys overpowered us at some time. That was how they got across to other sites, burned people's bike, destroyed houses and all that. When we came back later, that was when the police came. And even when the police came, the number of police that came was few. It was later than the men of the Nigerian army came. So when they came, they were able to march to the settlement of the Fulani people and then address the Fulani people and then came back to around this community. Those of us that they could meet, they also addressed us. If you could go around this community, you see that almost everybody has vacated the community. I just came to pick a few things so that I could leave too. So
let me get something clear. Has a thing of such happened in this community before?
We have not witnessed anything of this, no. No. But
Thank you very much,
we
sir.
always have complaints of cows going to people's farms, which we feel is normal most times. We try to talk to them, most times the people don't respond. But apart from that, what we saw today, man, was terrible.
Thank you very much, sir. So if you should come with me, there are a couple of houses that were raised as a result of the retaliatory attack that happened earlier in the day. And this is one of them. And what we saw earlier was a man piecing some of the roofing sheet and moving away from the community. And from what we gathered and from what we saw a couple of individuals fleeing the community with their bags in hands and a couple of things. This is another house again that was burnt as a result of the attack. This is like the fourth house that we saw that was attacked. So this is what we are seeing. Residents are fleeing. The ones who are staying behind have nowhere to go. Like that family, they were affected. Let's speak to the father of the house who is over there, if you should come with me. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, sir.
This is from News Center Television. We want to know what happened.
You see, I was on duty. I don't know the start of this thing. They just told me that about 8:30 that I shouldn't come home, that Fulani and our community here are fighting. So I stayed till that kind 9. Then I came. Before I came, my house was already on fire. So we couldn't quench it until the whole thing has finished. What you see me now, that's what I wear to work yesterday. And look at my wife from her shop. That is what she wore since morning. And so we remain till maybe if there is money from any source tomorrow before we look for something to change. So up to now, I've not bathed today.
Will it be right to say all your things got burnt as a result of it?
Everything, even nail, pin got burnt. We know, not all of us. Some of them are in the shop, some has gone to school, and so on.
So luckily, nobody was around when this thing happened?
No, nobody, typically. And those that ran home, everybody is running for his property or her properties. So nobody has time. And the villagers, no, it's at the wrong time, just 8:30. The people that are supposed to be on duty, they have gone. And those that are supposed to be on night, they have not even reached home. That is why the whole thing was like a confusion. Nobody knows exactly what to do. So nobody rescue any other person. You are just, even if you happen to be home, you are just on your own. And Fulani, since they are approaching, people are running away. Even those that would give a helping hand, they couldn't do it again.
That means the entire community was thrown into chaos at that particular time.
That's all. That's it. Again, I'm Joseph Udeworo.
Thank you very much. So you heard from Mr. Joseph, who is the father of this household. Unfortunately, nobody was at home when this sad incident happened. And from what we gathered, his entire properties, down to their clothes, their personal belongings, their personal effects, as well as their food and everything, was consumed as a result of this attack. So that is it. Over to you.
That's a heavy one, and a really unfortunate situation. I mean, there have been different reports. I did also see the Premium Times had done a report as well, saying that they had the herder had gone to the house of a policeman to cut down a mango tree and to, started trying to use it to feed his cattle, and that was what started the scuttle that then led to the killing of, the killing of people. It was very, very sad to see this happen. And again, it highlights the challenge that we are facing as a country. We have a farmer herder crisis. The reality that somebody can go to work and not come back to their properties, they have automatically become internally displaced persons. And them fleeing the community, again, is reflective of the fact that they do not believe that they are being protected or that they will be protected enough for them to be able to stay behind. Fights happen all the time, but the moment people start packing up their load and leaving the communities, it reflects a deeper problem. The fact that they cannot trust that they will be protected from the forces that are causing them. Two people or two distinct factions, and a civilian and a herdsman. And now what we're seeing is that the whole community has to bear the brunt for this. It's really sad.
I mean, like Olive, like you said, it's heart-wrenching, and it's very, very sad that the state is in no position to protect you, even though the fight and the attacks went on for about 3 hours, according to eyewitness reports. And it's just another failure and dereliction of duty by those who have been constitutionally appointed to protect Nigerians. It's really, really sad. That gentleman's testimony, your life's work just gone in front of you. That's over 30 years of, hard work. You build a house, you keep a family, and then because of some, miscreants fighting, your house becomes collateral damage.
You forget that some of them have their finances at home, and not to advocate for people to keep their money at home. Of course, we always say they should take it to financial institutions, but we cannot ignore the fact that there are many people that are unbanked, especially when you're looking at lately, because of a number of these charges, the changes that have been made with how we run money. Starting from the time when Godwin Emefiele had the two-currency system flowing, a number of people started keeping their money in their houses. So there are those that have a lot of their money in their houses that will now start from scratch, like literally start from nothing. One day they are okay, the next day they become internally displaced persons.
Well,
very sad.
For me, I just think every single day we're hearing of issues bordering on insecurity. It is time that those at the top really call themselves to order and sit down. While this happened yesterday, I felt some type of way, and I'll share how I felt. I felt differently because I was trying to get the context of this entire story, before, good job done by News Central, Joshua Marayi, well done. And I found out that while that was happening, somewhere the governors were gathered, and the video was circulating where they all stood up, the 31 governors, or out of 36, and they were all singing on your mandate, dancing and chanting.
What's there to celebrate?
And I
honestly,
couldn't help...
heartbreaking.
I couldn't help but think and ask myself, what is going on? That's not all. The governor of Nasarawa State, Engineer Abdullahi, he's part of that. That's not all. You also have Kebbi State. Kebbi State was equally faced with insecurity where a policeman and soldiers were killed as well. So if you look at the trajectory of the stories we cover every morning here, we're not here to paint any government bad. It's not our duty. Our duty is to report facts and let Nigerians know what is happening. So anybody who thinks, oh, these guys are anti, no, nobody is anti. We are just here to tell you the way it is. So the bottom line is, I think when you have incidences like this, it borders on, when there's social unrest, it also borders on rule of law. It shows that people no longer respect the law. Because ordinarily, if someone comes into your compound, you would approach those in charge, the law. You use the law against him in terms of situation. Either you go through the police, the security operatives, talk to them and say, listen, there's a stranger in my compound who came to, cut by my trees or something.
Exactly, not resort to self-help.
People no longer resort to, the law and everything. Rather, they just feel like, okay, you know what? Let me take the laws into my hands. And I think those at the top should start thinking about it now, how they really need to start nipping this insecurity issue in the bud. It's a big problem. But let's get to see what Nigerians are saying, basically. Let's take the tweets very quickly and see what Nigerians, how they're reacting. John Uday says, these guys operate very easily and without resistance. Our military formations are not up and running in their various locations. Well, John Udo, I can imagine how you feel.
I mean, and that's a policing issue. I think
it's a
policing issue.
It's a policing issue. Worldwide says, Wike said there is no insecurity. Now they have brought it to his doorstep. Let's see how he reacts. And meaning by his doorsteps, Nasarawa is just about 2 hours, 30 minutes into Abuja.
It's a border town.
It's a border town. It's not far. It's very close to Karu and all that. Moraba or something, yes. Anyway, Adiremi says, bandits striking on Abuja's outskirts is terrifying. Burning homes, communities on the siege, I beg your pardon. Youths forced to fight back. Security gaps are glaring, and ordinary people are paying the price. Okay, all right. Another one. Let's see if we have another tweet very quickly to take.
All right.
Anyway,
I want to also take from YouTube as we go, before we quickly move to our very next important story. On YouTube, Mr. Johnson says, imagine the headline, bandits clash with residents in the country where we have policemen, SSS, DSS, and army. All the action wouldn't have happened in 5 or 10 minutes, but they would always finish their operations before police or army come around. This is getting scary. It's looking like a script being interpreted by the bandits in the Nigerian government because this is not making any sense any longer, he says. Victor Okebata says there's nothing like farmer-herder clashes. What we have is armed herders killing unarmed farmers to take over their lands. Prince Ajibade says, Tinubu no get to that time. And I'm not trying to be sarcastic. He doesn't care about this country or her citizens. He only cares about himself, his family, and his squads. There is, of course, a great level of...
Someone mentioned DSS and all the security operatives. Yesterday, I did see... I mean, it looked like something out of a Hollywood movie. The only time I'm sure most of the times you've seen the most sophisticated, armed, dressed members of Nigerian armed forces or security personnel is when they are doing special unit protection, VIP escorts. Yes, but you never see them with all those equipment trying to prevent law from breaking down or engaging terrorists. It's really, really sad. It seems our resources are put towards protecting VIPs.
Well, we've said it many times that we're just reactionary. It's a reactionary system that we have. When we wait till something happens and then we react. Gone are the days during the Buhari time, I do recall the former president, Jonathan, I beg your pardon, former president, Goodluck Jonathan, will remember when they had to put barricades, especially when the bombing became too much. The barricades, if you notice, was able to kind of like give some form of restraint and so on. We know that there was an information that was passed, take off all the barricades, everything is to let people move freely and so on. The UN office that was bombed and so on. But I think we haven't gotten out of the doldrums yet. I think it's high time we revisit a security pattern. But we're worried.
Yeah, but it looks like the upper ups see security as a nuisance. It's preventing them from politicking, and it's an inconvenience rather than dealing with it holistically. But
all right, I think we should go to our next story. But I must warn our audience that this next story would really, really infuriate you. Police in Niger State have arrested a 38-year-old electrician, Hamisu Abdullahi, after he allegedly shouted, "No water, no light," during a visit by Governor Mohammed Bago to Suleja. Authorities say the incident occurred shortly after Eid al-Fitr prayers at the Emir's Palace, where Abdullahi is accused of attempting to disrupt official proceedings during the Salah visit. He was subsequently taken into custody and transferred to the State Criminal Investigation Department in Minna before being granted bail after several days. Take note, several days, as investigations continue. While officials insist due process is being followed, the arrest has sparked wider conversations, with many raising conversations and concerns about citizens' right to openly express frustration over basic issues like no water, no light. Now, Abdullahi had himself told Sahara reporters that he paid 50,000 naira to secure his bail at State Criminal Investigation Department. Said he was locked up at the Suleja Police Division on the day of the incident before moving to CID in Minna the following Saturday. He stated directly that his detention was on the orders of Governor Bago. The governor's chief press secretary said he was not aware of the incident when contacted. But why this raises eyebrows is because of the person involved, Governor Bago. If you remember, this is the same governor in his state that tried to silence the voice of the media where he, remember the press?
Closed the
Locked up
radio
the press,
station.
closed up a radio station. This is the same governor that talked about dreads and, you know, sort of profiled people who had dreads. So Governor Bago has been in the news more than once for not the right reasons. So having, you know, brought this up into the conversation is quite scary. The police had indeed confirmed the arrest with spokesperson SP Wasiu Abiodun saying that Abdullahi was transferred to the State Criminal Investigation Department in Minna on March 20th for suspected thuggery and attempting to disrupt government activities during the Salah visit. So two things here, two different accounts. According to the young man said he was shouting, "No light, no water," basically an open frustration while the government or the governor, you know, the prayers were happening. The police, on the other hand, said they are arresting him for thuggery. So if the governor comes to a place, because the governor is there, and I'm displeased by the kind of leadership and service that I'm getting from a governor that I elected into office, I cannot express my frustration. So you decide you want to arrest him, then you arrest him and you keep him for days. You take him to the State Criminal Investigation Department. For what crime?
I mean, it's really, really sad. And if you look at other countries, people heckle politicians. They are public figures. And as a tax-paying citizen, as a law-abiding citizen, he has a right to express his frustration. You might not like it. You might deem it as embarrassing, but you don't have a right to lock him up for days. I don't think there's anywhere in the Nigerian Constitution that says if somebody says no light, no water, it's a criminal offense. Then the criminalization of what is, I mean, the worst you could get is a what's it called? It's, I'm looking.
A detention?
No, not a criminal.
A misdemeanor?
A misdemeanor, exactly, for disrupting the peace of the area. You know, they always have a way of using the law to get them, but there's nothing criminal about the actions of that young man. And it's really sad that Governor Bago, again, is in the news. Even when we have governors that have military backgrounds, they act in more democratic ways. So it's unfortunate. And I hope he gets some sort of justice, and I'm happy we're talking about it.
I think the good thing about this story is that it has now come out in the press. People are now talking about it. This is not the first time that a governor has been spotted with stories like this. Just like Olive also mentioned. We also talked about him here, remember in the mornings, where he had come out selling a video that anyone who is profiled with dreads and so on, security operatives should cut off the hair. And when that was brought forth in the media, and everybody said, why do you say that? Who are you? You're the governor. You don't have rights. He came out with another video and apologized and said, no, that's not what he meant, and so on. But it was counterproductive because both videos, I remember we did that here, we played both videos back to back, and it showed that you said what you said.
Yeah, he said it was misquoted.
Said it was misquoted. And we're like, no, you weren't misquoted because we played the video again. That's exactly what you said. There's also a video where yesterday people were bringing out receipts of him walking to a royal, you know, a majesty in court.
The emir.
The emir, who's not supposed to come down from his horse. I was reading through it, and he ran down to him and told him, come down. And people were like, no, you don't do that. I said, calm down. And he told him to, and the emir had no choice because he was telling him, calm down, you need to quickly. And people were like, no, there should be some form of respect. Come on. So what we're trying to say here is, if the personality is always in question, I think the governor should actually have a sit back and really look at things like that. Let's not forget to...
But the governor is very humble when it comes to meeting the president, because he's always sitting on the floor. He's always make.
Yes. Exactly. and don't forget to, you know, whenever things like this happen, remember a particular name, Mohamed Bouazizi, 2010, the Arab Spring.
Yes.
It all started
in Tunisia.
Yeah, in Tunisia, and then spread to other countries, Egypt, Libya. And so it all started with just one person getting frustrated and just decided to say, you know what, self-immolation, and it led to what today. I think those countries will never, ever forget. We hope that Nigeria doesn't get to that point. Because what we're seeing now is a ticking time bomb. You're beating a child. This time it's not even beating. You are battering the child, because Nigerians are battered, as it were. We have the tax issue. We have power issue. We have the issue of fuel scarcity,
inflation,
food problem, aviation. Now they're saying the aviation jet A1 is going to almost how much? 2,000 or something, and it means you're going to get it in your flight ticket. So everybody, Nigerians are going through a lot, and then the pressure. So let's hope that the current administration is able to keep things together, because if it goes out of hand, you know what they say, the one that is being necessitated or being cajoled or being moved as a movement in terms of let's go and protest, that one, you're able to control it. But the ones that the people will now say, no, randomly, well, I don't know, everybody comes up. It may be hard to control that one. That's my biggest worry. It's really sad. I mean, Nigerians put their government in office. When governors need to understand that we put them in office to serve, they're not there as not an autocratic system of leadership that we have. So if people are not pleased with the kind of government they have, they can and they should call you out as a governor. And if you're embarrassed by it, then do something about it. The quickest way to respond to the embarrassment is to fix the problem so they don't keep complaining. How are we complaining about pipe-borne water in 2026? How? Let's see what Nigerians are saying. We'll take comments from YouTube, then we'll head to X and maybe come back to YouTube. Michael Obieku says, the same governor of Nasarawa State just a few days ago was saying there's so much pressure from his parents, family, and people of the state to run for the Senate in 2027. You don't mean it. Still on YouTube, Nigeria is gradually turning into something else, and I wonder what it will be like if this administration continues beyond 2027. As it stands now, it feels like our elected government does not want anyone to speak out again, as if we are all expected to remain silent, according to Prince Omef. Still on YouTube, Michael Obieku says, Governor Bago is more concerned about campaigning for Tinubu come 2027 because he clearly stated it by saying he's personally going to lead the campaign team for his 2027 re-election.
I remember him saying he will even be Director General of the campaign organization. I don't know who is more interested in getting President Tinubu re-elected.
Him or Okpewolo.
They are so passionate about it. Yeah. I really wish they cared about the citizens of
the way they are passionate about it. Okay, let's now move from YouTube to X and take comment on X, and then maybe we'll come back to take some more comments on YouTube. See, so a man said, no water, no light, and the response was to arrest him. That's deeply troubling. Citizens are now committing crimes for speaking about basic hardship or more heartbreak. This is what happens when those in power become allergic to criticism. This is unacceptable, Ada King says. Water and electricity are not luxuries. They are basic necessities that every government owes its people. Instead of meeting these essential needs, authorities are resorting to arresting citizens for exercising their fundamental right to freedom of speech. Leadership must be a service to the people, not a tool for intimidation. Those in power should remember that their mandate is to serve, protect, and improve the lives of the citizens, not to act as oppressors, Debex says. Really? I wish they got the memo. Why did he shout at the governor instead of singing his praise? The governor is not the minister of power, and building roads is not part of his business. This is sarcasm. It has to be. Okay. Nobody the governor ordered the arrest. Now police just do eye service for there. Ladangwachiko says, it's possible, but I'll come back to share a thought on that. The scariest part is not even the arrest. It is that someone in that governor's circle made the decision that this man was a threat worth detaining. That means there are people around Bago who genuinely believe citizens have no right to complain. The culture does not start at the top alone. It gets built one arrest at a time. Let's go back to that previous tweet. The previous tweet before this one. It says, nobody the governor ordered the arrest. Now, police just do eye service for there. Now, I want us to pin this a bit. There have been instances where the police have taken it upon themselves to decide what is the best form to handle an issue, right? And yes, there is a possibility that maybe I'm not holding brief for the governor, neither am I holding brief for the police. I'm working with the information that is out there in the public. If the police decided to act on their own accord, this is where the governor quickly comes out to clear his name and let us know that he was not in any way involved in that. And he can have a conversation with the police and let them know that they're acting out of order and they do not have his blessings. Because there have been times when members of, members in society like VIPs will have certain citizens arrested. And the explanation to that would be that they reported to the police and the police decided that this was the best course of action. So that we know where we are facing our aggression or where we are facing directing our anger to. I believe that that man did not just say, no light, no water, no electricity. I definitely believe he did not say it in that tone. I know that he must have said it with an angry tone, but the question is, even though.
Did he commit any crime?
Even though, is there light?
So this is
Did he defame you? The defense to defamation is truth. Was it a defamatory statement?
If he's charged, what would the charge?
I would love to see the charge sheet, but now they're claiming thuggery. What is the definition of thuggery?
You see why people no longer have faith in the judiciary, Nigeria's system of our law,
our criminal administration.
People,
because it starts from the police.
I mean, it's the police that will bring the case
before the court. But exactly.
So the police was wrong in the first place. So I've arrested him.
It's also the judge that would say no.
No, it hasn't gotten to judge yet.
No, we're just saying. I'm just saying. If it should get there. I mean, we had a guest yesterday who was here, and he joined us, legal luminary, and he did say something, and he said it the way it is. He said, yes, that the way it's going, that you have a lot of, if you check the polls, it's online. Check. There are a lot of persons who have carried out an online survey and all that. Nigerians are losing faith in the judiciary. They're saying, what is going on? Never a time have they seen judiciary hobnob with the executive, so much so that you can't separate them. It's much more like everybody's afraid that, oh, if everything goes here. But we're not saying you should be like that. We're saying still have faith, because there's still people who believe that, no, the law is the law.
The judiciary is the last hope of a common man.
It is.
But a lot of people are doubting that now.
I agree, but I agree that there's a quote-unquote loss of faith in judiciary, but please, let's not give judiciary stray bullet that is not their own in this particular story. The problem is with the police. It's the police that is the first leg here. And for me, it's just, why did they arrest him? What is the charge? Can somebody complaining about the kind of government and governance that they have received be categorized as thuggery? That is the question. Even though now we're seeing conflicting reports, one report from the police, one report from the gentleman himself who gave an account, his own account to Sahara. The case is still being investigated, and we do hope that we can find a conclusion to this story and that is not just swept under the carpet as usual.
Olive, I like the comment on YouTube there. Lenin Quere says, the sad truth is the people that arrested that guy are suffering from the same thing. That's the reality. But they can't do anything. A mere looking at the governor, one can tell who he is in real life. And that's the truth. And I keep saying that the same police who have gone to arrest this young man who was shouting, no water, no light. When they go back home, they are wondering, where do we go from?
Is it not the same thing that happened to NSAS when young people were protesting and they said, look, you are fighting the people that are protesting and they are protesting for your own advancement, for your own welfare. They were protesting that police salaries should be increased, but these same people were the ones that were fighting them. The insect that is eating the leaf is inside the leaf. That's literally what's happening. Victor Okibata says, Olive, what we now have... Okay, that's what it means.
You didn't know?
Oh,
you thought it was...
Oh, you thought I was forming...
No, I was trying to learn the translation.
Okay.
So I know how to use it.
All right. But the summary of the story is that it has to be investigated. We have to get to the root of the matter, and governors must realize that they are there to serve citizens and it's not the other way around. Our culture has ingrained in us a system of reverence where we revere public officials, and I cannot say that we shouldn't honor them. I think we should honor them, right? There's a part of our culture and tradition that it also impacts the way in which Nigerian police function.
Honor is taking it too far. Respect them. Respect the office.
No,
respect the office.
Yes, respect or honor or whatever. But you know that part of our culture that feels like you can't question an elder? That thing was in our parents' generation, where if your parents say something or an older person says something, you can't talk back, you can't question them. Times have changed. We should not carry culture into governance. Yes, to a certain extent, but not to the extent that because you are in charge, you are Lord and Emperor. No, it's a democratic government that we have. And law enforcement agents and public officials must recognize
the Nigerian Constitution is our guide.
Exactly.
Anything outside the Constitution.
Anyway.
Somebody's asking.
I don't know
he said, I think I'll wrap this story up here. Najisan says, good morning. Between the man and the police, who will you believe? If you ask me, now who I go ask? You tell me, who do you believe?
I'd just like to call on our producer. I don't know if we have that video of the 31 governors yesterday. The video that's been trending where they all gathered at
31 APC
31 APC governors. They all met, and the video was trending all through yesterday. Reason, because of the songs that were being sang, and people were wondering, wait, these songs that are being sang, are they solving, or with your meeting now, has insecurity stopped?
It's on the mandate.
Oh, by the way, just to mention to our viewers, if you are watching, I think this is where we ring our bell of conscience. Please go and stock up your house. food prices are about to hit the roof.
So
And
now
that's
what
a
is
fact.
it going to do, Drew? It's going to cause panic buying?
No, you have time. But do it as soon as you can. The reason is, of course, I'm sure Benga has been following. Maybe Benga was busy yesterday, I know. Anyway, the war between US and Iran and so on is about to take a different turn. Fuel prices, the increase. Just yesterday, I spoke to someone who actually goes to the market and said everything has doubled. I personally went to a superstore yesterday that I buy things. Things doubled by, they added 400 naira on everything. I had to ask the manager, why did you add 400 naira? I said, oh, that's the price. Yeah. So there's 400 naira increase on everything. And the US-Iran, why I'm bringing that up is because we do hear that sulfate and other, necessities needed for farming. Fertilizers, name them, also pass through the port of Hormuz and so on and so forth. And currently, the Philippines has shut down as we speak this morning. The country itself has said, listen, they shut down. You can't buy fuel above a certain level. They are indeed marking
price control.
Price control. They've told people you can stay home. So they're
other
back
countries, 4-day work week.
Exactly. They're looking at the 2020 COVID-19 strategy now. That's what countries are now going back to. So can you imagine in 2026?
And you know what? I mean, in all of this, unnecessary suffering brought on billions of people around the world. This has to be the most useless, unnecessary war in the history of warfare. 18 U.S. intelligence agencies has said Iran posed no threat. The IAEA, International Atomic Agency, has said Iran did not have the capabilities for a bomb. Now, thousands of people have been killed, houses, millions displaced, lives destroyed, and then you set the world economy ablaze on the whims of a few individuals. It's quite a tragedy, and I hope some common sense prevails somewhere and brings this to an end.
I mean,
it's really, really sad.
Just to pass the information, not to make anyone panic, but of course you must be concerned this morning as we speak. Think about a little stock up. I'm sure if the federal government hasn't shared this information, we hope that very soon they'll be able to address Nigerians. We did talk about it 2 days ago, that we're expecting that the presidency, the team, the presidential task force by now should be able to approach and tell Nigerians. And it's so sad, Benga, as we speak now, the Minister of Petroleum happens to be who?
The president.
The president himself. The Minister of Petroleum hasn't spoken to Nigerians, hasn't told Nigerians.
No, well, it's politics. It's politics. 31 APC governors.
You see, and all the 31, I don't know if our producer...
That seems to be more important.
Let's actually listen to this.
Let's watch this video. Chorus by Governor Bago himself with a microphone.
That's why I said let's watch the video. All right, so aside from the APC governors meeting in Lagos, that's also another video that shows some of the members also meeting. I did have the SSA involved. You did have the Senate Deputy Speaker as well there, and a lot of them. That video you just saw has also generated mixed reactions online. People are saying you are happily singing, and you're cheerful. But have you really... So my question this morning is to those at the top, those in power. Can you please just take next week or this week, just come down from the high horse. Just come down. Go to the nook and crannies.
You don't need to go to the nook and crannies, even in the city. Even in the city.
Just sit down. If you can disguise, Benga, if they can even disguise, just wear a mask. You know, like what Cristiano Ronaldo did some years ago, where they did a facial makeup. He went to the street. People didn't know he was the one till he now. So let's do something like that to the governors. Maybe if don't disguise, don't show up, don't show yourself. I mean, I remember those days of Governor Fashola in Lagos. Fashola would walk down the streets. People would know he's the one. I mean, and when he walks, when people turn, they'll be like, oh, that's the governor, actually. Let them do that. Just walk. But if you don't want to disguise yourself, don't walk with your security aids. Just walk freely on the road.
Again, you know, back to this On Your Mandate song, I always say that when they are having the APC Congress, by all means, they should sing On Your Mandate. But there have been places where one has seen that it might not be fitting to sing this because it communicates a sense of being, what's the word? There's a word that comes to mind, but not bearing in mind the concerns of the people, all right? What was this word?
It should be
I really need coffee this morning.
Olive.
Yeah.
Olive.
So why I say
you
this
want
is
to
because
put it.
when they want to present, when the president wants to present his budget, you see the people, instead of singing national anthem, singing on your mandate. And what that does is, I mean, the president is not president of the APC. He's president of every political party. He's president of Nigeria. Our lawmakers are not lawmakers of the APC, regardless of whether you came in through the APC
That's
or not.
why when
Our
they have
speaker,
foreign engagements, the king did not refer him as APC president.
exactly.
President
So
Bola.
what that does is, yes, the word came to me, tone deaf. It's almost like you're tone deaf. Because this On Your Mandate song in public gatherings has caused a lot of uproar. But it's almost like they have gotten to the point where they're saying, do your worst. We will sing it and you can
almost
only
a substitute for the national anthem.
Yeah. Somebody said that on YouTube. Michael Obeku says, unfortunately, our national anthem has been replaced with On Your Mandate, We Shall Stand. This is how bad the system has degenerated. Never seen such since independence. Alexandra is asking you, Joe, how much food are we going to pile up? And for how long will the food last?
Where is the money?
It's well,
Where is
Jerry.
the money?
Where is the money?
Well.
You know, month is almost ended. How many people have been paid their salaries for this month? Not a lot of people have been paid. And for those that will be paid, the value of your salary last month is not the value of your salary this month. And sadly, the value of your salary this month might not be the same for next month.
It's not might. It will not, Olive.
Barring a miracle in the Middle East.
Olive, let it not seem like I'm just speaking on national TV. I was at the market 2 days ago.
I know, Joe. My fuel has gotten... I was saying to you, was it not on this set on Monday?
Top up.
I was saying that you shouldn't allow it to go too far from F. My brother, it has gotten to half now. I'm looking at the foil. The foil is looking at me. Because I'm just thinking to myself, for how long? The reality of spending on... Never in my life did I think I'll be spending up to 200,000 naira to buy fuel for a week. Make it make sense. Never in my life. How much is your salary? How much are we earning? So even if you want to leave that now, and that's for fuel alone, you're not talking about power. Beyond power, you're not talking about feeding. A number of us have families, family members. You have loved ones, extended family members and friends that have needs, that will reach out to you to show up for them. How are we coping? How are we surviving? Lenin said to you, Joe, you are funny, you want them to disguise. The joke on you is that you think they don't know what people are going through. These people just don't care. Their family is okay. You know, it's sad. They cannot pretend that they're not aware about how Nigerians are surviving.
Or they might just say it's opposition-driven noise.
It is not opposition-driven noise.
No, but that's what they're pegging it on. That's what they're pegging it on now. Anything that has to do with...
it's disgruntled opposition.
Oh, no, it's disgruntled opposition members that are speaking. But just to, I mean, my final thoughts on all of this that we're saying, I just want to say that it hurts that small businesses are now closing shop. It hurts. If you're very active with buying things from a few people, you would see what is going on now. It hurts that your phone would keep ringing, even from people you never expected that will be down. It hurts to see them rush and say, please,
anything.
Please
you spare
help.
me this? Yeah.
It hurts to see that everybody is being pushed to the limit. And people are shouting, but it seems that the voice is not getting to the top.
See that thing that you just said is true.
Those at the top don't care. They have a bulletproof house.
Insulated from all of this.
Insulated from all the noise downstairs. It really hurts. And like my final thought yesterday while I was going through the stories, I think I might be taking a break away from all these stories because it affects...
Joe, you cannot take a break, it's your job.
No, I might have to go on leave, at least for a certain period. And it hurts because at a certain point where we are now as a country, the only thing I thought about yesterday was, I hope we don't break. When I say break, I don't mean war or whatever, but I mean to a point where everything shuts down, because there's a little to which people can really take.
It's not far off anymore, Joe. And I want to go back to what you said earlier about people that you never imagined will beg you are begging for money. And that's the reality. Recently, a loved one reached out who was going through a rough patch and said, please, I need financial assistance. This person has never. It was not convenient for me at the time. It was not convenient at all. But I had to go out of my way because I know that this person will never. It's not somebody that would typically ever ask. What the current economy is doing to Nigerians is stripping them of their right to dignity of human person. People who have jobs, who are able to normally plan their life within the little resources that they're able to get from their salaries are not able to plan again. Because right now, what your salary was or what it was worth can't hold a light to what it currently is worth. And people are just literally moving on. Again, I would say, while we are calling out the government, while we are holding the government to account, we must also be our brother's keeper. For all of us, I mentioned this some days ago and I will say it again. Employers of labor, if you can afford, please, whatever ways you can ensure that you give aids to your staff, if it's transportation, if it's giving them lunch at work, whatever it is, if you can,
if it's
please
topping
help.
up at
if
the
it's
end of the month,
adding to their salary, please help. Then, if they don't have to come to work every day, kindly ensure that they work from home. Right now, what you're paying them is not enough. There's nobody that will say that it's the same, that their salary is able to cover all their needs at this point in the same way that it was last month. If they don't have to come to work, let them work from home. You can take turns. And those that can carpool. This week, I bring all of us to work. Next week, Joe brings us to work. The week after, Benga brings us to work. Whatever we can, we must look out for each other. We must.
Absolutely.
Well, that's pretty much said. As we wrap up, just also mention that you could drop a comment or two. We're streaming live on YouTube. Thank you so much to all those who have joined us, and we can see all your comments. Please feel free to do so. Benga, just yesterday again, by the way, gas price has gone up again. So if you need to cook now, cylinder,
I didn't have
price.
breakfast today because my gas finished yesterday. Bad timing.
Bad timing, and you'll be shocked at the price you're going to get it now. It's gone up by 100%.
Let me not even shock you. Okay, no, you know what? I'll tell you that one off camera. We're going to break, not really a break. Let's discuss or let's share with you what the stories we're analyzing today on Breakfast Central are. So let's take a look. This morning on Breakfast Central, we are going to be talking about Makinde and the Wike faction open reconciliation talks to save PDP ahead of 2027 elections. Political parties label amended Electoral Act as regressive ahead of 2027 poll. 4 states launch high-level meeting to curb insecurity. We're looking into the details of the story. News Central MD delegates to host People with Disabilities Town Hall in Asaba. And we're bringing you the front pages of the newspaper as we do every morning on Breakfast Central.
Welcome back to Breakfast Central. All is now set for News Central's Town Hall series. In Delta State, stakeholders, advocates and participants have started arriving in Asaba, Delta State capital, ahead of Thursday's event, focusing on people living with disabilities. News Central's correspondent Austin Azu reports on News Central's first session in the series of this year.
News Central TV, in partnership with South Africa, has designed a crucial platform for people living with disabilities to voice their concerns directly to policymakers and relevant authorities. It is the first Town Hall series for the year being organized by News Central TV. Now, the MD and editor-in-chief of News Central TV, Kayode Akintemi, and his team have arrived in Asaba ahead of the town hall meeting. Upon arrival, Akintemi led the delegation on a courtesy visit to the palace of the Asaba of Asaba, where he highlighted the purpose of the event.
And we're trusting with your royal endorsement and support, and with the support of the governor of the state, and of course the support of the rest of the governors of the South-South, that we will have something that will be fundamental and create the kind of impact that will make it such that people living with disabilities in the southern part of Nigeria, and of course the rest of the country, will certainly begin to see a change that will lead to something that makes it such that everyone will acknowledge.
And I want to announce, Your Royal Majesty, that this is the first time News Central, being the first media organization that have taken it upon themselves to focus on the needs of persons with disability and to organize a town hall to mirror some of the gaps and challenges of persons with disability, but also to prefer solutions to those challenges.
Some of those things. In his remarks, the Asaba commended the team for the initiative and emphasized that persons with disabilities must be fully integrated into the society.
How will that accommodate the disabled, amongst so many other things? So there are many issues, many variables we cannot gloss over. I keep saying that for me, it is not just being a traditional ruler. We must care about the welfare of our people and their health care.
Participants also speak about their expectations.
My expectation is really high. I'm expecting a good time to deliberate, and also I'm expecting that a lot of issues will be solved.
They should come to a conclusion like PWD should be inclusive in whatever is being done.
I'm expected that this program is going to connect Ondo State chapter of Jonapit to the world. And our expectation is to know more about this, your organization, and to actually know how we can synergize together to move disability community forward.
The event, which is expected to take off at 11 a.m., will be attended by individuals from Bayelsa State, Ondo, Anambra, Imo, as well as host Delta State. In Delta for News Central, Austin Azu.
It's going to be an interesting one today. Don't forget, all roads lead to Delta State. But let's get the feel of what's really happening this morning from the venue to the setup and, of course, what to expect. Our man, Bernard Akede, is on ground and he joins us this morning. Good morning to you, Bernard. And what's happening? How prepared are we for today's event?
All right, good morning, Benga. Good morning, Olive. Good morning, Joe. We are pretty much prepared for today's event. Seats are in place. The entire team is up and ready to go. We're just waiting for the guests to arrive, basically. Everything we need is entirely in place. As at yesterday at 9 p.m. bulletin, we had a small session here, a small segment in the bulletin where about 6 persons living with disabilities from Ondo and Bayelsa states shared briefly their experiences with us on the news, explaining, just subtle explanation of the kind of challenges that persons with disabilities go through on a daily basis. But, more elaborately, these are the conversations that we're going to be having today, from sympathy to solutions for persons with disabilities in Nigeria. That's the theme for today's conversation.
All right. Who are we expecting to be there? I did see earlier that the MD had visited the Asaba of Asaba. So it's great to know that we do have the blessings of the traditional leadership in the state. Who are the persons that are expected to be there? And what is, can we get a sense of what the agenda of the day is set to look like?
All right. First of all, I'll explain who the persons we're expecting are. Of course, our town hall sessions are always about the people, so we expect that this hall will be packed full with persons with disabilities from different states within the southwest and south-south region, as many as we possibly can have. We have a capacity of up to about 300 people. We're expecting that number. And then, of course, we have the policymakers and government officials. You did mention the Asaba of Asaba. We do have his blessing, the traditional ruler. And then we have, as I mentioned, policymakers. government officials, SAs, special advisors, permanent secretaries, you know, all those who are in position or who should be in a position to make policies that will support persons with disabilities live their lives as though they didn't have disabilities. Now, on this premise, I would answer your next question, what we're expecting. And I'll answer it with a very short story. Now, many years ago, as a young reporter, I did a story on International Day for Persons with Disabilities, and that was where my perspective actually broadened. Now, imagine somebody who is a dwarf going to use a public restroom where the toilet is about half his size, or somebody who's a dwarf going to use an ATM machine and he can't even see the buttons to punch. Okay? Now, people don't even see that these are persons who live alternate realities amongst us. They are with disabilities, but the infrastructure put in place does not support their livelihoods. Imagine somebody who is in a wheelchair trying to get on a plane, or somebody like we spoke to yesterday who is on a wheelchair, who is wheelchair ridden, and lives in a state like Bayelsa where he has to travel by water. It will take about 4 people to get him onto a boat, depending on his size. Now, on the flip side, the person I spoke to as a guest on that report was a doctor of, I think, philosophy from the UK. The interesting thing was, while I was speaking to him,
All right, Bernard, are you there?
do you live alone? He said, yes, this is a blind man. Yes, I am with you. Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, apologies for that. Now, I was saying that I was speaking to this gentleman. On the flip side, after talking to persons with disabilities in Nigeria and seeing their issues, I now went on Zoom to speak to a Nigerian, another Nigerian who lives in Tottenham in the UK. The gentleman was blind, lives in a 2-bedroom apartment alone, and transports himself, actually commutes from one city to another and back. And then he explained to me that it's not that he doesn't have disabilities, but that the system has removed, or rather has put in place, infrastructure that does not make his disabilities a challenge, so he can live like every other able-bodied person. Now put the two side by side and weigh the differences. These are the conversations that we intend to have today. It is not going to, we're not going to exhaust it today. It's not a one-day conversation, but these are conversations that have to be had, so that at least if we start today, the major things for me, which are awareness, inclusion, and, and the proper infrastructure, those 3 things, I believe if we start the conversation today, at some point in time, we will get there.
Important conversations to have, and we'll continue to follow up with them as the day goes by. And please greet all our families.
And I must say, because in that report you said when you were younger, you did a report. Well, you're still young, so don't be in a hurry.
All right, Bernard, see you around.
Thank you.
Let's now come to talk about some politics here in our country. The leaders of the People's Democratic Party, PDP, aligned with Kabiru Turaki, have pledged renewed commitment to assuring Nigerians that the position, they have given renewed commitment to reconciliation efforts within the party. And they're, of course, assuring Nigerians that the opposition platform will participate fully in the 2027 general elections. The Turaki-led National Working Committee, NWC, of the party yesterday confirmed the commencement of a fresh reconciliation process to unite aggrieved factions within the party. Turaki said this followed a 2-day emergency consultative meeting in Abuja, where stakeholders deliberated on the lingering internal crisis and pathways to restoring unity across the factions.
However, Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Nyesom Wike, downplayed alleged division within the People's Democratic Party. While speaking with journalists in Abuja, he noted that disagreements within the party ahead of its national convention scheduled for March 29 to 30 did not amount to a split. He insisted that the party remained united, although a few individuals might be nursing grievances. The minister also acknowledged that although some aggrieved members had reached out for reapproachment, those initiatives were personal reconciliations rather than formal negotiations. We have only one PDP, no faction. I don't know which camp you're talking about. That was the minister being quoted as saying. But don't take my words for it. Joining us now is National Publicity Secretary of the PDP, Mr. Ini Ememobong, joins us this morning. Good morning, and thank you so much for being here.
Good morning.
Okay.
Glad to be here.
Great. Let's start off first by asking, do we have two parties of the PDP? Let's start with that. Do we have factions? Do we have the FCT minister faction, and do we have your faction? Or is everything all fine and well?
Okay, first, just before then, let me commend the last report you took, the CSR by News Central, and that's very thoughtful. It would be remiss of me if I don't start from there. Humanity must be the center point of everything, including politics. Now, coming to your question, of a truth, you would know that, in fact, there exist two broad sides with different and differing perspectives, those still under the umbrella of the PDP, which has been a result of court cases, and that is why we are making room, which is why yesterday we issued a statement, press conference that was read by the chairman, Tani Mutaraki, SAN, and we're saying, look, for the interest of those who are running for elections, for the interest of maintaining the party as a political unit, for the interest of certainty of political party structure, let judge or other than within the framework of the law courts. Because clearly from the plethora of cases and judgments that have come, it is clear that the practicability, the operationalization of those judgments will not be able to give a political solution capable of taking us through to political El Dorado, which is why you would see that in the past week you've seen a de-escalation of rhetorics, and we're expecting that the other end would also respond in a similar manner rather than sitting on a high horse. And so, which is why you see the things going the way it's going, and discussions are happening, and we're saying, can we put the fertilizer, can we till the grounds and ensure that when the seeds of peace are planted, that it can germinate and bear good fruits. And we are starting from the perspective where theorists insist that the first point is usually negative peace, where there is a cessation of war, there is a cessation of hostility, and thereafter you can begin to build positive peace, which is the congruence of ideology, the acceptance, and true friendship. So it builds in that manner. So that is where we are now, and that is where we are hoping that everybody would give peace a chance in a way and manner that doesn't jeopardize the future. Because if that doesn't happen, then we are heading towards a position of mutually assured destruction, which will do the party no good.
Now, Mr. Ememebong, talking about building peace, I mean, you talked about cessation of hostilities, the rhetorics have reduced, the atmosphere has changed a little bit, but talking about efforts that have been made by both parties, compromise positions, would you say that you won't be pursuing the legal options anymore, appealing the last judgment, going all the way to the Supreme Court? And will you also be participating in the upcoming convention?
The legal options, if you recall, were instructions that were given immediately after and were executed by lawyers. So as we speak, the matter had already been filed in the Supreme Court. But that doesn't stop negotiation. It doesn't stop because you arrive at a solution today. The next moment, there's a motion for discontinuance. Again, when you recall that it was again from the Court of Appeal in Ibadan that an offer, an advisory by the court was made asking that, look, these are internal affairs, these are family matters. Why don't you guys sort it out and come back to us for a consent judgment, which is a conciliatory disposition that the adjudicative process has given up. So to that extent, the matters in court do not hamper negotiation. And yesterday, Turaki SN had indicated that as quickly as the negotiations advance and settlement is made, that those matters will be withdrawn. I mean, courts are very happy to find parties come to court to say, we've resolved our matters. So those matters have already been filed at the Supreme Court, and the matter in the Court of Appeal in Ibadan is still pending. So that's why we're saying that all those cases, immediately we find common ground, all those cases will become history so that it gives room. Now, going to the issue of the proposed convention, those are part of the things that the discussion and negotiation would have to discuss and agree on. You see, you cannot put something on nothing and expect it to stand. So we're coming to a point where during those negotiations, some inconvenient truth will be said at the background and some agreements made that will leave room for us to have the certainty of a political party structure capable of presenting candidates in the forthcoming elections and guaranteeing them success in it. So that when the candidates are going in for that election, they are not going with their hat in their mouth, not knowing whether they will succeed at the end. Because if you recall the other issues in Zamfara and Plateau, you would know that people went to elections, actually won elections, but intra-party conflict, which ended up in court during the electoral, using the Electoral Act, ended up robbing them of the victory. So this is why we are very concerned about this, to say that we must have the certainty that when we field candidates as a political party, that those candidates will be standing on sure ground and they can go to the elections with their entire heart and chest and know that even when they win on the field, that they would also win on the last day.
Mr. Bonga, I'd like a little more clarification, and I want us to, still take the conversation to still take it deeper, but we need to go on a very quick break, and when we come back, I'll ask my next question. Welcome back to Breakfast Central. We're still looking at the PDP and, what the next steps are and what really reconciliation within the party will look like. I'm joined by Mr. Ini Ememobong. Thank you very much for staying tuned. Before we went on the break, I was going to ask a question. My colleague had asked you a question about, the parties, the upcoming convention by the Wike faction, right? Even though His Excellency Mr. Jason Wike says there are no factions within the party, and he says what is happening is political disagreement, but I still need a bit of clarity regarding the upcoming convention. Yes, there are cases in court, but this is not going to be the first convention that the PDP is having, right? There's going to be another convention which he believes is the main convention of the People's Democratic Party. I did see that a faction of the PDP had also postponed key meetings of the National Executive Committee and National Caucus, that they had toned down their public messaging, but they're saying that they didn't get the same response in return. So what are your thoughts about the convention coming, if you can help clarify that?
Think too deep enough to expose, Olive, the issues that the people who will be negotiating should be doing. The truth is that, like I said, you cannot put something on nothing and expect it to stand. A convention is not just an event, it's a process that leads up to that. And there are contentions about the building blocks that would amount to the house called a convention. And those are issues that the people who will be negotiating will have to discuss clearly and have clarity, like you're also seeking about it. Those are issues that we have to discuss very deeply because they affect the states, they affect the local government, they affect the wards at the different levels. So we must have a discussion and clarity on a lot of those issues. So I can assure you that, God willing, which is why we are suing for peace. And if you recall the speech by Turaki asking that the people on the other side should descend their high horses and come to a point where discussions are ongoing. And we hope we've seen some push of the needle, the shift of the needle pin from where it was towards the direction we are hoping will progress faster because of the pressure of time. So, but on the whole, when it has to do with the convention, like I said, the convention is the apex of the congresses that happen. And therefore, it's not just a solo event where people can be boarded in or grafted in. It's a process that starts all the way from the World Congresses and culminates at the convention. But I'm sure that by the time they are done with looking at those building blocks and looking at which is defective, which is not, that mutually beneficial agreements will be reached that doesn't compromise the sanctity of the constitution of the party.
Okay, my next question to you simply is, I mean, you've talked about this reconciliation meeting and everyone is looking forward to see what will come out of it. I recall that the FCT minister had made it clear that he is supporting President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Is that the same tone of you, from your, I mean, in quotes, faction? Do you believe the same, that you are also going to, now that there's a reconciliation, does it mean that you're going to forego any plans for PDP to have a candidate and just join the FCT minister and ensure that all support is given to President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, meaning that you're going to shelve any plans to have a candidate come 2027. Do you also stick to that agreement?
Well, that agreement is not on the table yet, but you do know that within the framework of a group, there is what is called the group interest and there is what is called the individual interest. And so the FCT minister has stated his individual interest about that. In fact, even on a program I watched, I think, on a sister station, where the spokesperson of his group said, no, we're going to present a candidate because it's clear that if the People's Democratic Party is an opposition party, then it must be an opposition party, which is to provide alternative to the ruling party, not to become subservient to the ruling party. I mean, and that will clearly be one of the core principles, that core foundations and underpinning that will ground that discussion about what is the PDP? Is it an appendage of the ruling party, or the PDP, we hope, is it an opposition party? But I can assure you that, which is why you saw that we've insisted that one of the critical foundations and pillars that must ground moving forward is the fact that, yes, people can have their individual opinions, because at the end, on the day of voting, you don't even know whether your party people vote for you or others vote for you. But when it has to come as a group principle, as a group philosophy, the PDP as an opposition party should not, the PDP must not, the PDP cannot become an appendage of any other political party. But that doesn't stop people who have individual respective perspectives to pursue their perspective in the way and manner, provided that it is not shielded and clothed in a way that looks like it's the group interest. Our position is simple. We are an opposition party, and the duty of the opposition is to provide alternative to government, is to stand aligned with the people and to demand greater, deeper accountability and to put government in check. That is what we should do. It's a duty we are not willing and ready to leave, at least in the immediate.
I mean, next year is a very important year in Nigeria politically. We all know we're going to the polls. The PDP is currently trying to put this house in order so as to be a viable opposition come 2027, to be able to challenge. Are there any timelines that supporters of PDP should be looking at, that, okay, we're working towards, or maybe before the convention, everyone will be able to speak with the same voice? You'll have Mr. Turaki and the FCT ministers sitting on the same table and agreeing. Are there any timelines to this, or is just still back channel communications that is ongoing? Because people want, what's it called?
Clarity? Timeline?
No. They want
a resolution.
Yes, a resolution to this.
Absolutely. The pressure of time is real, and everybody who is on that platform is aware of that pressure. And we're working within very tight timelines. But you do know that, like in every negotiation, if you put very strict time on board, time is a critical element in any negotiation. It can work for or against the parties on the table. So sometimes you allow that to stay in the room without being stated, and everyone is aware. Of course, all of us have seen the INEC timetable, and we know where and when things are supposed to be done. So I'm sure and certain that all of the people discussing the people are responsible people and people who want the best for the party. So time is a critical factor.
Have there been direct communications between the FCT minister and Mr. Turaki?
Absolutely. There are communications between the highest people on that end and the highest people on our end. And because the issue of names are also part of the issues that may affect the negotiation, but I can confirm that the highest people on both ends are talking. And we are hoping that the talks expand to the point where we can conveniently begin to come to the public with the terms of agreement. We are very hopeful about that.
Just to wrap things up, because we're almost out of time, what is the stand of Governor Seyi Makinde in all of this?
Yeah, not just Governor Seyi Makinde, both governors Seyi Makinde and Bala Mohammed. We're there at the BOT meeting, the expanded BOT meeting, where we took a decision to de-escalate. and where the BOT set up a team that was to interface and negotiate with the other end. I can assure you that they are very responsible governors and they are very responsible stakeholders who desire that at reasonable legal costs, that with reasonable legal boundaries rather, that we should find a way to live peaceably amongst ourselves so that people who want to go for elections can. But you do know that there are limits and there are boundaries. I mean, because you don't want a piece of the graveyard, you don't want a piece that railroads the party into what it shouldn't be. So, but yes, answering your question directly, Governor Sheyi Makinde, Governor Bala Mohammed are critical part of this peace process.
All right. Thank you so much for speaking with us, Mr. Ini Ememobong. We will be looking out to hear if this treaty, or you could call it a peace deal, within the PDP will actually lead to a signature appendage or signed between both factions, and then maybe we'll see a candidate from the PDP because time is running really fast. Thanks for your time. Thanks for joining us. And like they say in the dialect,
thank you very much.
Thank you. All right. Okay, we'll go on a quick break. When we come back, we'll take a look at what's happening. More stories, definitely stories that you should know, stories you can use after the break. Do well to stay with us. We'll be right back.
So just we want to get your thoughts about why you think it is important for us to have conversations about people living with disabilities in Asaba today. We seem to be struggling with the audio. We hope that we can reconnect with Honorable Anya Fulu Bridget to talk about the New Central's Town Hall. But we will now be moving the conversation to another aspect, talking about political parties under the IPAC, that is the Inter-Party Advisory Council, have rejected the amended Electoral Act 2026, describing it as a regressive framework that could undermine the credibility of the 2027 general elections. At a consultative meeting with the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC in Abuja, IPAC Chairman Yusuf Maman Dantali called on the National Assembly to urgently repeal and revise key provisions of the law, warning that the current framework places excessive pressure on political parties and fails to reflect public input from earlier consultations. The Council criticized aspects of the Act, including INEC's election timetable, which it says is built on a contentious legal foundation, and the requirement for political parties to submit membership registers with national identification numbers by April 2026, citing risks of disenfranchisement.
IPAC also demanded the restoration of indirect primaries, insisting that candidate selection should remain an internal party matter, while calling for mandatory electronic transmission of results, the establishment of an Electoral Offences Commission, and stricter penalties for electoral practices. Now, join us this morning is the National Publicist Secretary of the Inter-Party Advisory Council, IPAC, Egbeola Martins. Warm welcome to you, Mr. Martins, and thanks for joining us on Breakfast Central this morning.
Good morning, Nigerians, and thanks for having me this morning.
Mr. Martins, your organization is asking quite a lot from INEC. Are these demands of yours realistic, and how do you plan to pursue the actualization of some of these demands, and why are they important?
Okay, thank you very much. I think it is best I explain what IPAC stands for. IPAC is the Inter-Party Advisory Council, which is an umbrella body of all registered political parties in Nigeria. And we started with the mandate of managing inter-party relations and also seeking to deepen democracy in Nigeria. It means, in essence, that what IPAC stands for is to see to the entrenchment of democracy to an extent that democracy will be strong, will be viral, and then it will benefit all Nigerians. And I mean, our demands are clear. There's no ambiguity in terms of what we are demanding for. If the Electoral Act, we believe, should be able to serve the interests of Nigerians. I mean, if the political parties are major or critical stakeholders in the electoral process, And then the Electoral Act should be what should be framed in such a way as to ensure that no political party is excluded from the electoral process. And because what we see is from this Electoral Act, especially with some certain sections, that they are being put in there to be able to exclude some political parties from the political process. Number one, when you talk about the mode of primaries, I believe the Supreme Court is quite clear on the powers of political parties. And one of such powers is our ability to be able to determine the mode of primaries is not in the purview of external factors, such as have been described as meddlesome interlopers by courts of competent jurisdiction severally, even up to the Supreme Court, that an external body cannot determine the internal affairs of a particular party. So process of nominating candidates is the exclusive preserve and right of political parties. And before now, we had three modes of primaries that we could adopt, which is the direct, the indirect, and consensus. But you agree with me that consensus is not even democratic, because what you're doing with a consensus is like saying you're giving some very few people within the political party the opportunity to hijack such a political party, because they could sit down and determine who becomes the candidate. That in actual sense is not democratic. Now, we've been left with the option of direct and indirect, which you agree with me that the indirect is a pseudo representation, at least is party members being involved and electing delegates to go and be able to determine who will be their party representative. And direct primary is expensive. Even INEC is finding it difficult to conduct an election that is without rancor and is above board. And up till now, they've not been able to achieve it. So what you're saying, in essence, is that every single member of the political party will go out in their different constituencies to vote. And you know that in terms of logistics, it's going to be very, very cumbersome. It's going to be expensive, and which left an hybrid, option of indirect for most political parties available. And that now has been deleted from the Electoral Act as we speak. I mean, of all things that are important to the National Assembly, how come indirect primary is what is of pressing necessity? Because I can still remember that this same National Assembly has never deemed it fit in their attempt to strengthen political parties to ensure that those who decamp from one political party to another forfeit such seats without any caveat, without any proviso that they'll be leaning on. We feel that is what you should be working on, to make it unconditional, that if you have won your election on a platform and you move from that platform, there's no excuse, there's no ambiguity, you forfeit that. That is how you begin to strengthen political parties. And you see people sit to build their political party, not them winning and moving to another political party without consequences. And so that we have said is not the right thing. You cannot reduce the political space to just what is within the whims and caprices of the ruling party. You cannot just sit down, conceive an idea that favors your party, and you now feel, okay, it should be generalized. No, what works in one party may not work in another party, and that is why that level of liberty should be given to all political parties to, operate within their own uniqueness. Then secondly, you cannot also say the issue of name. I mean, if you watch, this is just like the rascality of the political class. And it's also the tyranny of the majority, because I believe the party that, have the majority in the National Assembly is just doing things as they like. I mean, you agree with me that the APC before now already started.
Yeah, let's pause there. I know that you're talking about NIN and your disagreement with them asking for parties to not just meet the April 2026 deadline for submission of party membership, NIN, and the likes. And I want us to expand that further after this break. Welcome back to Breakfast Central. We're still talking about IPAC rejecting the electoral amendments and, calling for a review. We are joined this morning by the National Publicity Secretary of the Inter-Party Advisory Council, Egbeola Martins. Thank you very much for staying with us. Before we went on the break, we were speaking about NIN and basically talking about IPAC pushing back on, the request for political parties to submit the NIN of their members and, saying that the actual words used were saying that the directive is unrealistic and exclusionary. And in addition to that, there was also the request that membership registers be submitted by April 2026. But looking at the fact that elections are around the corner, we have about 9 months thereabouts to elections. Election is January 2027. The time frame is short. What would have been a realistic timeline? And why do you call this unrealistic and exclusionary?
Okay, thank you. You see, the honest truth is that you don't just enact a law and you're looking for 100% compliance within a very short time frame. There's no way it is done all over the world. Even this current tax act that was passed, you knew how long it took for us to get to that process, where it was accepted, it was approved, and it was passed. And there was a long time frame that was given, time of implementation. We had almost how many months that the government had to announce. So they were on this part for almost 2 years before they started implementation early this year. That is how laws are implemented. So if that is just to show you how haphazard in terms of when you look at the functioning of the ruling class. You can't, for all political parties before now, have their members registered. So we have thousands of members that have been registered either online or the physical copy of registered. Now you are now demanding that within this time frame, we should ensure that we should submit our e-registration, including the physical, the hard copy, with the NIN as a compulsory requirement in that membership registration. So how do you want us within this short frame of mind? No, it's a beautiful legislation because at least it will expose those who claim to be having almost 100 and something thousand members voting in a particular state in a direct primary. The direct primary will expose them. It's just a matter of time. Because when you make laws thinking that you are only, you are looking at it from the short-term perspective, at least it will favor you now. But in the long run, you all bow to the fact that it's going to affect everyone. So what we are saying is the time frame is too short. You can allow our members, you don't need to de-enfranchise them. Let those who have registered, even without me that already are members, be allowed to participate in this process. While the process is now ongoing, you cannot say, okay, going forward in subsequent elections, we have off-season elections. It might be off-season elections, it might not be this year. You put it so that you do not exclude genuine members who do not have name from participating in the process. Even as it stands, even when Nigeria wanted to implement NIN, we knew how many years it took them to implement this NIN. So some of the policy implementation took almost 5 years, 2 years, 3 years. So why this sudden belief that within this short period, parties should ensure that we should update our register for all our members who do not have name, for their name to be reflected before they can participate in the primary process of that political party. So, and we are kicking against that. It's undemocratic. You do not make laws that will exclude members, citizens, from participating in the electoral process. And that is why we believe if such laws, however beautiful the laws are aimed at excluding electorates, then such laws does not serve the interest of the people. And that is why we said, okay, let this ongoing registration, updating of name, let it be a continuous process. Let those who have it participate, and those who do not also have it, who are already our members, also participate. Is that too much to ask? It's not too much to ask. Why this insistence on excluding people from the electoral process? So there must be something that the political class are actually hiding from. There is something they know that we do not know. And we want Nigerians to be part and parcel of this process. We're not just saying this because it does not favor some political parties. No. PDP was in power at a point in time. They bragged that they were going to rule this country for 60 years. Where is PDP today? PDP is almost decimated because of internal wrangling. And some of the laws they failed to make when they were in power, those laws are today haunting them. Those they made in their favor are today haunting them because they thought they would be in power forever. So that is why we need to make sustainable laws that serves the interest of the nation, that serves the interest of all citizens. So that when you are no longer in power, that same law you have made for the overall benefit of the people will also serve your own interest. Okay. And nobody will be victimized on account of the laws that they've made.
Okay, can you confirm to us that IPAC was ready and during the meeting with the INEC boss, was there a meeting first off? Were you able to sit with the INEC boss just for confirmation for the benefit of our viewers?
Yes, there was a meeting. It's a regular consultative meeting with INEC. I mean, at least it comes, most of there are times it could happen maybe 2 or 3 times in a quarter, depending on if there are issues that ought to be discussed. So there's always this engagement between IPAC and INEC on matters relating to elections and how to strengthen the electoral process. So a meeting, yes, there was a meeting that was held day before yesterday.
Okay, well,
yes.
Yeah, Mr. Martins, we're aware of that meeting. Just we wanted to confirm that, especially for the benefit of our viewers. But can you also confirm to us that during that meeting, the INEC boss had accepted your request and said he was going to see how they can expedite action on the review of the electoral reform laws?
Okay, it doesn't have an option in this matter because even the INEC is
Are you
also
sure?
affected.
Are you sure it doesn't have an option?
Yes, it doesn't have an option in this case because INEC itself is also affected by these laws. It has constrained them, and that is why they continue to pad and amend the timetable from now and then. You know how many times that timetable has been amended ever since the first, timetable was released. It also does not suit them because it continues to make them to shift and move. Okay, imagine one of the provisions of the Electoral Act that says, funds should be released 6 months, at least 6 months before the election. Whose interest does that serve? Of what use is of having money very close to the election, and at the end of the day, preparation becomes shabby because there are some things that ought to have been on ground, or money ought to have been used to put in place, that are also, of time importance. So how do they do that? So it affects INEC also. So they are interested. They also want it to be done because most of the recommendations we made as political parties, because we came together and we came up with our own, memorandum on this issue, and it was sent to the National Assembly. And we are so surprised that over 80% of our recommendation wasn't captured. The ones that were even captured were distorted, like the mandatory transmission of election results from the polling unit was without proviso. But the political class, in a bid to protect, I don't know what they are protecting, of course it will be serving their own interest, went ahead to include a proviso that, empower the electoral officer on ground to be able to determine, how election will be transmitted, which is what we are trying to remove from the hands of anybody, including the electoral officer.
So, Mr. Martins, if I may come in here, please. From what you've said, the IPAC and Professor Josh Amupiton, the INEC chairman, seem to be on the same page on certain clauses within the Electoral Act. Will there be time to review this act, and does it have to go through Parliament one more time so that we have an Electoral Act that is fit for purpose? Do you see this happening before the elections?
No, yes. Why will it not happen? It can happen. When you know how well, like 2 weeks ago, when they saw certain things that will also serve their interest, and this National Assembly was so quick to amend it because they knew it was going to affect them. If they do not, they wanted to tie all the old legal framework, all in their favor, where they said in particular nobody should be a member of two political parties. Were they sleeping before? Why didn't they put that? But maybe later somebody, in their think tank studied it and said, look, let's not allow this, because there's every possibility that some candidates would have registered in two political parties, and it is not a mandatory requirement of the law that you cannot be members of two political parties. Might explore that if eventually they do not get tickets in their own political party. And within 24 hours, this same National Assembly sat down, joint committee of the House of Reps and Senate to review this particular law. And they amended it and passed it into law and was signed by Mr. President in less than 24 hours. So how much more what affects the old Nigerians? Things that we said, if not done, will be capable of excluding millions of Nigerians from the electoral process, capable of making whichever government that emerges from this process to look illegitimate, before the international community. Why would they not be interested in ensuring that that is done? It can be done. They can do it. I can assure you that under some 2 hours, this National Assembly that I know, I was able to change our national anthem within less than 2 hours, and it became law. And today we had to shift from one national anthem to another national anthem. And no, you can't only be changing the law when it suits your purpose. Also, it's time, and that is what we are calling for. This time around, we are dead serious. And of course, the IPAC understands how important this is. Because if this is not followed through, political parties with like minds will continue to agitate and push for this to happen. But this time around, it affects the interest of all political parties, except probably the ruling political party, which is the APC. And we are telling them that they will not be in power forever. You can't be shrinking the political space. You can't be making it almost impossible for opposition parties to exist and be able to manage their own affairs. Why do you micromanage the affairs of political parties? That is what you're doing indirectly. You can't begin to impose what suits your political party on other political parties. You can't begin to amend the laws at your whims and caprices when it suits you. When you look at a clause that will not favor you, quickly amend it. When we are now clamoring that this particular clause does not benefit Nigerians, we are saying it's going to be difficult. No, it can be done. And we all know that it can be done.
All right, Mr. Martins, thank you so much for speaking with us. Let's wait and see. I mean, you've made the move. You've sat down with the INEC boss. It now depends on the INEC boss making the move now and speaking with either the National Assembly. We'll just wait and see what the next steps are, because we do not really have time. Thanks for speaking with us this morning here on Breakfast Central.
But we can assure you that we will take very drastic measures within the ambit of the law.
Okay. All right. Thanks for your time. Breakfast Central continues. Time for breakfast headlines, and then we have the front pages of the newspapers also coming up next. To do well to stay with us.
President Bola Tinubu has returned to Abuja from Lagos following a brief stay after his return from the historic state visit to the United Kingdom. President Tinubu during the visit held high-level engagement aimed at strengthening diplomatic and economic ties between Nigeria and the United Kingdom. With the APC National Convention scheduled to begin on Friday, the president is expected to resume official duties at the presidential villa in Abuja with a focus on key national priorities. The People's Democratic Party, PDP, is making moves to resolve its internal crisis as camps loyal to Oyo State Governor Seyi Makinde and FCT Minister Nyesom Wike begin reconciliation talks ahead of 2027. After months of tension, both sides have opened dialogue following intervention by the party's Board of Trustees. Party leaders say initial steps, including postponing key meetings and easing rhetoric, have helped restart communication. While legal battles remain, the PDP says it is ready to withdraw cases if a political agreement is reached. The party is urging supporters to stay calm, expressing confidence that unity can be restored. As preparations intensify ahead of Nigeria's 2027 general elections, the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, and key partner, the Kimpact Development Initiative, has unveiled a comprehensive voter education manual aimed at deepening public understanding of the electoral process. The initiative comes against the backdrop of alarming figures from the previous elections, where over 1.2 million votes were declared invalid in 2019 and more than 900,000 ballots were voided in 2023, highlighting a persistent gap in voter knowledge, a challenge needed to be addressed. Stakeholders say the manual will serve as a practical educational tool designed to guide voters through key electoral procedures, reduce errors on the ballot, and ultimately ensure that more votes count.
Reviewing an update of this manual. This effort comes at this crucial time in Nigeria's democratic journey. Our electoral and democratic landscape continue to evolve, shaped by a new legal framework, including recent electoral reforms signed into law by the president, as well as emerging realities in citizen engagement, technology, and political participation. It became imperative, therefore, to ensure that the National Voter Education Manual is not only current and accurate, but also responsive, practical, and accessible, especially to young Nigeria, who represent a significant portion of our population and the electorate.
And now to a rather sad one. Tragedy struck in Ridawa village in Gari local government area of Kano State when an unspecified number of brick workers were reportedly buried after a pit collapsed in the village. The incident was said to have occurred in the early hours of Wednesday while the victims were engaged in digging earth for brick making. According to eyewitness accounts, the pit suddenly gave way, burying several laborers beneath heaps of sand and debris. Rescue efforts began immediately, though they were largely carried out with rudimentary tools. Sani Bala, who represents the Gari Shanyawa Federal Constituency, confirmed that initial reports suggest that around 10 individuals may still be trapped underground. In a bid to strengthen global security cooperation and rising geopolitical tensions, the European Union High Representatives to Nigeria have met with President Bola Tinubu alongside the Minister of Budget and Planning and other key government officials. The focus of this discussion was addressing growing security concerns across the globe and the need for countries that uphold international rules to work together. The meeting underscores renewed commitment of the current administration to strengthen partnerships in key sectors aimed at achieving economic growth and effective security.
We are very like-minded partners, European Union and Nigeria, and we were today exploring new ways where we can cooperate. I think the security situation in the world is very serious if we look at the geopolitical picture, and that's why it's important that those countries who are valuing the rules and the international, rules-based system also, stick together. In terms of security, for example, cybersecurity issues, where we can have cooperation even more. So there were different aspects that we were exploring today.
Now let's move outside Nigeria. Ghana has welcomed the landmark United Nations resolution recognizing the transatlantic slave trade as the gravest crime against humanity. Speaking after the vote, Foreign Minister Samuel Okuzeto-Ablakwa said the decision affirms a long-standing historical truth and honors millions of victims. He noted that the resolution is a step toward justice, remembrance, and global acknowledgement of Africa's suffering during centuries of forced migration and exploitation. The vote by the UN General Assembly has been hailed by several African nations as a moral victory and a call for continued dialogue on reparations and historical accountability.
Today, the international community has taken a significant, considerate, and historic step forward by adopting this landmark resolution declaring the trafficking of enslaved Africans and the racialized chattel enslavement of Africans as the gravest crime against humanity. Today, through this resolution, the world has spoken with clarity and truth. We have affirmed that the trafficking of enslaved Africans and their racialized chattel enslavement is the gravest crime against humanity, a crime whose scale, structure, and enduring consequences demand recognition at the highest level of our shared global conscience, so that we have not simply passed a text, we have affirmed a truth. We have chosen remembrance over silence, dignity over erasure, and shared humanity over division.
And that's all at this hour. Breakfast Central now continues. Thanks for being with us.
Thanks for staying with us on Breakfast Central. Before we go straight to the front pages of the newspapers, let's tell you that when something goes wrong in the sky, two things determine what happens next: the quality of the evidence collected and the condition of the people involved. Yesterday, Nigeria's aviation sector took a hard look at both. The Nigerian Safety Investigation Bureau, in partnership with Tigerian Legal, convened the NSIB Aviation Stakeholder Engagement Workshop, bringing together regulators, investigators, also aeromedical professionals and international safety experts under one theme: integrity in evidence, clarity in skies. Two issues dominated the conversation: evidence preservation after aviation incidents and whether the people operating our airspace are getting the support they need. News Central's team was there, and now we bring you this report.
Industry stakeholders, regulators, and aviation professionals gathered to address critical safety concerns within Nigeria's aviation sector. The workshop highlighted the importance of preserving accident investigation evidence, a key factor in ensuring accurate findings and preventing future incidents.
And I'm walking around like a free spirit.
Stakeholders call for stronger monitoring systems, routine checks, and continuous awareness to maintain high safety standards, stressing that compromised evidence can hinder investigations and delay necessary safety improvements across the industry.
And we found in the past few incidents in Nigeria, most recently with the Airpiece incident last year in Port Harcourt, where the pilots did not secure the cockpit voice recorder, which only records on a 2-hour loop for that particular model. And by the time our investigators got there, all the evidence, at least on the voice part, had been overwritten. And that kind of slowed down our piecing together what really happened with that incident. This is just to address these issues again and just let professionals know that their licenses are at risk and people's lives are in their hands. And this is just to address all these issues and bring it to the fore and try to mitigate and nip this all in the bud moving forward.
For many observers, the challenge is not the absence of frameworks, but the gaps between policy and practice, a gap that could undermine how effectively future incidents are investigated and prevented.
If you don't have the information, then you just be guessing. Sometimes we do a lot of guesswork. This has happened, that's what has happened. You have to get there and know. What they are discussing right now is about the state of the health of the crew. Can you imagine that? Because something may happen, you may be looking at somewhere else, and that's not the cause of that accident. It's not that, has nothing to do with it. So you have to put everything together, assemble them, and then digest them, and then see. We also have to allow the NSIB to do their work.
One thing we've gotten right, there's room for improvement. Now we've been able to separate regulator from the investigator. So there is a bit of a balance. There is no, you can't be a regulator as being an investigator. You can't be the judge in your own home. So then the service provider. So there are three legs to it. So, but one thing we've managed to do is to ensure that we are all on the same page, working towards the same goal. And that, to me, has translated to the safety we're recording today. I mean, think of those days when aircraft used to fall off the skies. Today, we have one of the best safety records in the world.
The engagement underscores ongoing efforts to strengthen Nigeria's aviation safety framework and align with global best practices. This is strengthening compliance and accountability will be critical to maintaining safety and public confidence. In Lagos, for News Central, Placidia Ibekuni.
Thank you so much for still staying with us. Very interesting report there. Let's now go straight to the front pages of the newspapers. And we do have the COO of Sustainable Stories Africa. I use an acronym for it, SSA. So maybe the SSA of...
Not SSSO.
SSA, yeah. We do have Wade Ahime who joins us this morning. Thank you so much for being here, Wade.
Good morning, Joe. Good morning, Olive.
Good morning.
Good morning, Benga.
Good morning.
Benga, I have to go get this kind of pair of glasses for myself.
Okay, I'll gift you one. When is your birthday?
September 28th.
Okay.
I will be waiting for it just for reading.
No problem.
Thank you very much.
Wow.
We take care of ourselves like that.
I see what you're doing there. Let's go straight to the papers. Don't forget the phone lines will be open so you can call in to join us as we analyze some of the biggest stories on the front newspapers. Let's start off with Al Jazeera, Nigeria. It has a big story on the front page there. 29 million Nigerian children, 29 million children to benefit as UBEC unveils Hope Edu to strengthen capacity of 500,000 teachers, deliver 13,000 new classrooms, reintegrate out of school children into formal education system.
Great news.
Especially now that we've had issues in Akwa Ibom State, those videos that emerged, and not forgetting to in Rivers, that young lady who made that video of the local government chairman and was eventually, like we heard, attacked and so on and so forth. But let's move on to another story and see more stories on the front page there. This one, to the right, federal government defends OPL 245 settlement, faults Atiku Media Office over misrepresentations. Page 17. Page 9, purposeful leadership, intra-party stability key to democratic success. APC chieftain says. Drug abuse drives HIV transmission, says Marwa. And we have AU Commission pays tribute to slave trade victims. Bandits attack Nasarawa community, scores feared dead. Let's start off with that one, page 15. I don't know if you saw the footage, you saw the videos. Our reporter was on ground to cover that, and it seems like, are we getting a grip hold on security? Do you think there's some form of laxity, or we're not doing enough, or we're still overwhelmed?
I think it's a combination of we're not doing enough, and the security architecture is overwhelmed. When you're fighting wars, and they're not your conventional war types, when you're fighting terrorism war across different
multiple fronts,
then it's so difficult. It's not like your traditional war where both parties know where you're going to fight, which areas are going to be. These are just attacks that come randomly. What then needs to happen is to improve the level of intelligence gathering and actually using that intelligence gathered towards ensuring that Nigerians are kept safe. So it's a combination of both, and it's unfortunate that at least now we're beginning to see it again in the news for over a year. At one point in time was all front pages where those were the major headlines. Now we're beginning to see them back at the corner, except there's a major terrorist attack. But at least we're hearing about it so that people understand that Nigeria is truly not yet secured, and as much as the government continues to try and provide that security, they still don't have a grip over it.
Well, whose responsibility is it? Looking at the Nasarawa State incident, because there was an attack, and then they should have known that there might be a reprisal attack, and that's where the intelligence happened. Whose primary responsibility is it to prevent those sorts of occurrences from happening?
It's a combination of all security agents. And now the question is, who should provide security for communities, which should be the police? But we tend these days to say, oh, the army. And when you don't have enough policemen, are you with me, to police a nation, not to talk about policing.
Or maybe we're not deploying them to the right places.
No. I don't think we have.
The amount of, if I'm going home now, I know how many police checkpoints I will see before I get home.
Let's leave that. But we still don't have enough police people for 200 million Nigerians, 774 local governments. Some police operation posts have been there for God knows how long. Some of them are still being given bicycle allowance. They've not even moved to motorcycles. Do you understand? Bicycle is fine, but they've not moved to motorcycles for speed. So these are things we need to reconsider in terms of how the police operates. But we focus so much on the military, who should be defending our sovereignty. Yes, and this is part of war against our sovereignty, because these are terrorists who are trying to. But they are stretched so far, and we don't even have enough people in the military, whether it's the Air Force or the Army or the Navy. And then there are so many other security agencies, what do you call them? Is it the NCDC?
Yeah. And now forest guards.
Forest guards.
And you're just building more and more. And how are they collaborating? And the intelligence that comes from whether it's the DSS or the NIA and all must work together towards stopping terrorism and banditry, or whatever you call it in Nigeria.
Okay, let's look at another paper very quickly. We're done with the Al Jazeera. Let's now move to
This
Nigeria. Let's look at what this Nigeria has in store for us. Big stories as well coming out from this Nigeria. Don't forget, like I mentioned earlier, the phone number will be there on the screen, so feel free to share with us your thoughts. $13 million court orders final forfeiture of funds linked to Aisha Achimogu's firm. The court is satisfied that the EFCC has proved beyond a reasonable doubt that the funds are proceeds of unlawful activities. FCCPC raises concern over unsafe products in circulation. Drug abuse fueling HIV spread, NDLEA warns. 2027, why South-South will be clean sweep for Tinubu. Zonal leaders endorse him. That's another one. But let's start off with this $13 million.
Yeah, the EFCC seems to be on a high these days. Just yesterday, they secured a conviction of a former Accountant General of the Federation. They sentenced him to 87 years in prison, and we wished him long life and prosperity. And now we have this story of $13 million. So they seem to be securing convictions these days. So I hope they stay on this path and also expand their dragnet to politically exposed persons. What do you make of the story?
Well, so like I always say about the FCC, when you do your investigations right and you get all your documentations, and only my legal friend will tell me, when you have all the things correct, it's easier for you to get a conviction, or it's easier for you to get a judge to even look at those things. And I think in this case, what they've done is that they've gotten all their investigations right. They've searched far and wide, near and close, to ensure that all the things that brought about the monies towards buying those things, if they were illegal, they were illegal. You can't use illegal money to buy assets of any country. So this is kudos to them. We'll give them that. Like I always say, when people do their job well and they do it efficiently and they score a victory, then you give it to them. Why? But if they don't do, and so like you said about why don't they expand their dragnets? And the question is, when you look at this story, it's only become front page news because they've gotten a conviction. Unlike the political ones, where before they invite anybody, it's already in the front pages of the newspaper. Do your investigation. Take the matters to court. Let a judge give you a warrant, which is what the process should be. Invite the person, speak to the person, and where he warrants that you need to go further, then you go further. Where he warrants that you want to do a deal, just to be sure that, okay, well, it might be, it might not be, but let's get our monies back. then you go ahead with that. There's nowhere in the world where you don't cut deals with so-called alleged criminals. There's nowhere except for murder. Even for murder, you cut deals if there are people involved. So one person will be the one who will be
plea bargain.
Yeah. So that's it. So congratulations to them. Great work. At least they've gotten $30 million into the coffers of the, what's it called? I guess that money has been in the coffers of the federal government before. Now, the asset doesn't belong to the company, so which is now an asset that is available for auctioning.
$30 million would do a lot to fix a lot of challenges that the country is facing right now. Especially looking at that story. Some media houses have also linked Aisha Chimogu to, being close ties with the Lagos State government.
Yeah, because they said the Lagos State governor did attend her birthday celebration in the Caribbean last year.
That was one in Greece, right?
No, in Caribbean, one island.
Okay.
Yeah.
So my question is this. So because I'm a businessman, I shouldn't have friends. And because my friend is a governor, he should not attend my party.
I mean, as a politically exposed person and as a governor, you shouldn't be seen frolicking and associating with people of questionable character.
You've only just gotten a conviction. So questionable character is alleged.
Questionable character does start in one day. You would have been building it up.
Section 36, subsection 5.
For them
presumption of innocence.
Thank you, my...
No, I've not said anything.
No, you see,
I'm just acting on this $30 million.
You're just acting on the $30 million.
That's why I made my comment.
Now.
I'm making my comment based on
please
based on the conviction.
Now, based on a conviction, it was all alleged until this conviction.
But as at that birthday, she would have made this $30 million.
Benga, please now, spare me. This woman has been in business for years. Are you saying that she cannot be worth $30 million that runs an oil and gas company? Let's always stop throwing all
based on this conviction.
Benga, you have been like, pardon my French, you have been like all these social media
but based on this conviction.
Based on this conviction doesn't mean that if my friend, if she's found guilty, doesn't mean that I shouldn't be, doesn't mean that she shouldn't be my friend. It just means I can't do business transactions because I cannot trust that level of what's it called.
Okay.
Integrity. Okay, let's move away from that.
Will she serve, if she's found guilty, will she face the law?
If she's found
guilty?
Yeah, she should face the law. But does it, so because someone committed a crime, are you with me, means that the person is no longer your friend? Or you're not visiting the person?
Show me your friend and I'll tell you. Yeah, I'm not.
Please spare down. Show me your friend. Show me your friend.
All my friends are not criminals. I have.
How do you know?
Upright. Look at my friends here.
I'm not your friend.
Oh, you see, even Olive is denying you.
I'm not your friend.
Olive is denying you live.
I don't know you. Please, you're not my friend.
Nice one. Nice one.
Let's go to the one that concerns us. Because what happens with Aisha Chimogu is Let's talk about the one that concerns us as Nigerians. On the front page of the Nigerian Tribune, bottom right corner, rising fuel prices, Petro federal government to alleviate hardship of Nigerians. How will they alleviate hardship? How? When we are buying fuel at how much?
1,000.
You know, people are spending hundreds of thousands to fuel their car.
And I experienced it myself. So.
But you were defending it the other day.
I'm not. But what did I say that day? But what did I say that day? That what I can afford, I will buy. If I don't have to go anywhere, I sit down at home. And I haven't been. This is the first. Okay, no, I went out on Tuesday and then I bought petrol. But this is the first time I'm coming out since then because I work from home. If I have to go to work, it's a different thing entirely.
The headline there says to alleviate hardship. How in the future?
It's coming.
This is week 4. Other countries are taking serious measures. Japan has introduced a sort of subsidy.
Blame your government for not having that plan put in place to alleviate that. And I agree with that. So they must find ways to say, okay, how do we improve the lots? Like on Tuesday or Monday, it was in the newspapers that the Oyo State governor said he would give an additional... Exactly. Those are all part of the things that you try and do or say and work on them and get them done. The federal government hasn't said anything.
So as a former oil and gas person, what can the government do to alleviate our immediate pain now?
What can they do?
Some or what things they can
So
do.
you get so for those who work, for workers and those who work, quick fixes. Okay, just give them an allowance temporarily to say, okay, we'll help you buttress this so that transport costs and all those things you'll be able to manage.
How much is
them.
this allowance?
How can I determine for the organization? Where
There should be a figure tied to
I mean,
it.
I can't tie a figure to. Your state is giving 10,000. So you have to look at the modalities of your state or your organization, and then also the modalities of your pocket, because all these things go back into the bottom line. I'm not going to chastise anybody who says he doesn't have the money or he doesn't have the resources to alleviate.
How about reintroduction of a temporary subsidy regime?
That's possible. And it's possible in different ways. It's possible in different ways.
The story on health.
Now, but the question of subsidy is that, for me, is that you don't put it back into the fuel pump. So you have to find ways to put it into the pockets of the individuals rather than say, oh, no, put a fiat and say, we'll go back. Yes, we'll go back to where we're coming from.
The story on the bottom left there on Nigerian Tribune is one that we should really consider. Worsening financial conditions accelerate memory loss in older adults. Is that the reason why...
Memory loss?
Yes, memory loss. Is that the reason why after suffering, once you receive rice, you go back? The loss, memory.
It could be tied to it.
I'm just...
I'm not a medical professional, and I'm not going to try and be one, but I'll try and give my own opinion about it. And it's true, because when you are mentally stressed, there's so many things that are going through your mind, your head, and all, and you tend to forget a number of things. But as you grow older, and your retention, because the older you go, your ability to retain also comes down. Some of these things come from mental health issues, which a lot of Nigerians are dealing with. And of course, they will just say, now you be the first person. These days when the Gen Z says, oh, I have mental health stress, and then they will ask, maybe we should use slap to reset it. But the truth of it is that even us, my generation, your generation growing up, we went through a lot that we had to manage ourselves. Some will tell our parents, some will tell uncles or senior, if we had senior siblings and so on. So it's a part of life, but the truth of it is when you are in abject poverty, are you with me? You tend to have a lot more mental health issues.
Okay, let's see another one.
Don't let Gen Zs hear you when you say mental health and reset it to slap. I'm not around you. Like
You see, when I say these things, then people always, Gen Zs, or I have two Gen Zs that I can always tell you, and that's the reality. But the reality for me is that I grew up with many issues that I had to deal with, and I had nobody to speak to. And I'm not telling you that is right.
Exactly.
I'm not telling you that is right. And what I said is, and when I made that statement, I said, in my own generation, they will tell you, they will use slap to reset it.
Okay.
So that was not right.
If my child has mental health issues, am I going to slap her to reset the brain? Of course not. Does that mean because someone slapped me because I felt, yeah, it has evolved. More people speak about it now, and the more we talk about it, the better we're able to manage not just ourselves, but the people around us.
Absolutely.
I'm still looking at the front page of the newspaper. On the Nigerian Tribune, top left corner, and this one, because I have experienced it personally, consumer products must be labeled in English, FCCPC warns manufacturers. You link it to the front page of this Nigeria newspaper, top right corner of this Nigeria, you will see FCCP, let's please put this Nigerian newspaper front page. FCCPC raises concern over unsafe products in circulation. If you look at it, that's it there.
Those stories go hand in hand, pari passu.
Now, why I'm highlighting this is because I once went to speak at an event, and they had curated this really lovely box for me that had really nice things. You know the way they do now, as a speaker, chocolate and all those things. And I just left it there. I didn't touch it for a while. And then one day, I had seen it. I saw that there was this brush that you use to wash your face. You know, those pretty spa-looking things. And I thought I was going to use it. So one day, I was feeling like, oh, you know, this Saturday, I want to exfoliate, do face mask and all that. And I went and picked up this brush. typically I would just open it. I mean, it's a face brush you use to wash your face. I would just open it and use. But I felt a strong urge to read. And when I read on the body of this product, it says, or it said, that this product is outlawed in the United States of America because it has been found to contain cancerous property. How is it that that product made its way into the Nigerian market? How is it that we are set?
We should ask someone, NAFDAC.
Because now FCCPC is saying unsafe products are in circulation. How did they get it?
Yeah, because
borders.
Not just our borders. Our supervisory, regulatory supervisory organizations, are you with me, don't do their jobs completely. They do a lot, don't get me wrong, but they don't do it completely. Because some of these things is just, register as NAFDAC, you go, you see where it is, where the warehouse is. Every product that comes in should have a
standard organizations and certification or something.
Exactly.
But they tell you they do, that some of them do, and then
that the organization has a standard of Nigeria certification does not mean that the product has. There are two different things. First, you have to have, as an organization, you have to have that, meaning that you have agreed that you are going to bring in goods that are not substandard. Now, how, with all the porous borders and all the things that you bring in illegally, legally, with all the port congestions, how do you inspect every single one? Because that's where these things all depend. These are the things that.
So it's either they're overwhelmed and they don't have the resources,
or they could be compromised. And I'm not saying they are. So
there are two ways to look at this announcement by FC. They are saying, look, within our limitations, we have done our best, but there's still these products out there. So shine your eyes. I believe that's the message.
And then the second part is to the consumer himself. I think it was my brother that shared a video of a warehouse. Expired, I won't call it, expired soda drinks.
We've seen plenty of
dangerous.
And that's the reality. So
that's why there's a spike in liver and
to this extent now that when I buy anything, the first thing I do
to read the label
is to check the expiry date.
But they also replace expiry dates.
And if they do,
look, I think I'm just going to be drinking water.
But even the water too.
Even water, where they be?
When you produce water, they tell you sometime where it should be. It should be. So at the end of the day, we as consumers, are you with me? Cheap is good. Cheap can be dangerous. Expensive is good. But even the more expensive it is, the more dangerous it's probably going to be.
Is it not the same country where we heard that this alcoholic brand that they drink in the clubs that everybody is investing in?
Which one is that?
You know
you don't need to call the brand, please.
Everybody was, at the point, they now said every of that bottle that's in Nigeria is fake. And people are spending hundreds of thousands to order
on a fake product. Even the ones they even use, the ones they use for libation in the village. Some DBS, they told me that gods are not answering their prayers.
God answer the prayers?
Because how can you be using
fake and expired
alcohol? Are you trying to deceive
the gods?
Actually, the person that told me this is an upcoming DBI. His name is Tunde Raji.
Let's move on to, there's a story.
Communism wine.
Let's also look at, I think another story we would love to look at, although we don't have it in this paper. Daily Trust and other papers have been looking at the impact of the economy. One of the biggest stories as well, Nairametrics did put out, was flight aviation price is soaring. It would soar, to go up. There's issue of power as well. That's another issue. The Punch barely has that, but the Punch also reports on, it says, U.S.-Iran war. Federal government reopens fuel imports. Dangote reels from FX losses. So Dangote is also losing, if you don't know. But now you know, because he has to buy crude.
In dollars.
Even when you buy the crude in Naira, at what exchange rate?
Yeah. Even our exchange rate now is not working for him. So there's a lot. But sadly, while all of these things are going on, we do have some Nigerians who have gone on social media. Just yesterday, I did see about almost 7 or 8 of them. But a few of them we could mention. There's Kunle Remy, who also went online and was crying about spending so much on fuel, on diesel.
On diesel?
Powering the house.
Diesel is 1,700.
1,700, yes.
Yeah, it will get to about 2,000.
And then our guest joined us yesterday.
Crude oil prices, as of yesterday, had moved up to $130 per barrel. And Iran is hell-bent on...
you don't see any de-escalation happening?
De-escalation, the President of America said they were having talks, and the other party says that there is no talk.
Exactly.
And now they've sent a 15-point agenda to them.
And Iran says,
and Iran has sent his own counter agenda. Until the rest of NATO and the globe actually sits, both of them. And Iran has agreed that they can have talks. They can have talks in Pakistan. They've agreed to that. Exactly. So,
well, you had talks 2 previous times, and then you start making the back during the talks.
Like I said, and this is my opinion, please. When you have 2 leaders, are you with me, whose thinking is just about themselves, then that's where you get to. And in the 2 leaders, I guess you can mention their names. I'm not at liberty to do that.
Okay, Netanyahu and Trump.
Okay. They can't arrest you.
It's not arrest. We are doing our job.
No, that's why you're doing your job.
Global issues.
And I'm explaining to you my own global issues.
I guess we might have to reach out to Pastor Odumeje to help them to de-escalate fight in the Middle East.
That's a big problem.
Terrible.
Okay, let's take this story still on the Nigerian Tribune. NBA condemns Showore over misuse of courtroom. The Nigerian Bar Association has criticized the behavior of former presidential candidate Showore at the Federal High Court in Abuja, describing his actions as a breach of courtroom etiquette. Showore was involved in a confrontation with senior advocate of Nigeria, Musiba Adetunbi, on Tuesday after attempting to speak with journalists inside the courtroom. Adetunbi had objected, insisting that the court was not the appropriate venue for a media briefing. Showore, however, pushed back, saying, "You're intimidating me and insulting my intelligence because you're also introducing yourself to me as a son. I also have my own sons." And then in a statement released on Wednesday and signed by its president, Afam Osigwe, the NBA acknowledged that courtrooms in a democratic setting are open to the public to ensure transparency, but stressed that such access must be guided by order, discipline, and respect for judicial authority. It's against this background that the NBA views with grave concern the incident involving Mr. Omoyele Showore. The statement read.
And Showore fought back. He actually responded. He responded to them. Showore.
You know, I like how lawyers, they're always looking after each other's interests. You know, the other time, some skit makers were denigrating lawyers, using wig and gown for skits. They came out and said, you know, you need to stop doing that. Lawyers...
That one, because it's not just because of that. There's actually rules of professional conduct that guide...
it's art. Why are you people so sensitive?
No, even wearing your wig and gown...
Olive, calm down, calm down. You guys are too sensitive.
Calm down. It's not a matter of sensitivity. I'm telling you that there are laws that guide the wearing of wig and gown.
There are professional laws that guide all professions.
If the other profession don't want to
is one profession more important than the other?
No.
I need to start journalism.
No, but there are laws that guide journalism.
You know this morning.
Yeah, there are laws.
Ruffling feathers.
No, I want to ruffle his feathers too, because no Benga likes to ruffle feathers.
His fuel is expensive. I'm in a terrible mood this morning.
Who cares?
Let's go to YouTube, please, as we look to wrap up. Let's take some comments.
Oliver, I feel your...
The contradiction is that an oil-producing nation is suffering when oil prices increase. Why can't we meet our OPEC quota, and why our refineries not working? That's what we should focus on. That's from DJ.
Why we can't meet our OPEC quotas is very simple. We're not producing enough.
Okay. Well, they said we've added 100,000 barrels.
No, they've not added yet. They're looking to reach 100.
If Nigeria, and let me just make this statement, and it's not, and this is
quickly.
If Nigeria is not producing a minimum of 1.8 million barrels every day, and I'm not talking about crude and condensate, just crude. We're not getting anywhere.
We should forget about it.
Forget about it, because currently, of the amounts that we have, about 60 to 70% is encumbered. That's the challenge of giving Dangote crude.
We don't have enough.
Use them to service our debts.
Okay. All right. Let's take another one. A Brave Titan says, this seems to be the most sensible news channel. Taking the right topics, the guests are on point, speak for the people. Well, thank you so much. Said this is the channel. Keep it up, News Central. Michael Obieku says, News Central is addictive. Oh, yes, it is. I must warn you.
And please,
I must warn you.
I mean, if I wasn't working in News Central...
Take the pills more so that it can be more addictive.
If I wasn't working in News Central, it might be one of my biggest regrets in life, because I can't imagine myself as a media professional
and I agree.
watching all these great guys.
I agree. If I wasn't a contributor here, because I've contributed in so many other, and I'm
watching all those great guys do their thing, and I'm not part of it.
The fuel price is not going down.
Yes. It's just that Olive is not my friend anymore.
Let's move on to another one. Okay, it says Joe, Olive, and Benga, the trio of Breakfast Central, they're simply the best. Thank you so much. Thank you. Hello, News Central. Madam Olive Radiance, as usual. Greetings to the wonderful gentleman as well. Please, I wish to thank you guys for earlier report on people living with disabilities. Very thoughtful. Thank you so much. We're going to do more. Don't forget, stick around. I think it starts at 11 o'clock, 11 a.m. News Central special town hall series on people with disabilities holding in Delta State. The team is set, and we would come live at 11. So
Asaba,
please make
to be
sure
precise.
you watch. Hopefully, Lagos State has an office for that.
Yes,
of course.
yes.
I didn't care.
My good
Absolutely.
because she has a disability too.
Yes. But what about the federal government?
An accident.
From the federal level, what have we seen? Do we have people with disabilities, just like Dr. Jake joined us?
Yeah, national policy.
At the National Assembly.
Or face that is attached to an office that does advocacy for people living.
Well, I know some organizations that put that into place.
No, at the national level.
At the national level.
Yes.
I don't know. I don't know about that.
Okay.
And not so many states have the equivalent of LASODA. So kudos to Lagos State government for being forward-thinking.
And kudos to Adenike for a great job that she's doing.
She's doing such an amazing job.
Let's take the final comment. Too many things to unpack today, so says Pius Amako. He says, let me talk about PDP. Greed is what killed PDP in 2015. That same greed played again in 2023. Wike is only bearing it well with cooked jollof rice and chicken, is what he said.
Well, there are currently reconciliation talks between all the belligerents in the People's Democratic Party. In 10 seconds, do you think something positive will come out?
On the condition that everybody votes for one party. I leave it at that.
Okay.
You're speaking like a sage these days, a very wise man. You're
I'm growing
speaking
older.
in terms of
I'm nearing 6 than 5.
Thank you so much for watching Breakfast Central this morning on the Thursday. Tomorrow is Friday, and we'll be back again to look at some of the big stories, whether you like it or not.
And,
but don't leave us.
As we leave the studio, I would like to leave on a traditional note. I would like to drop this proverb for my good friend Oliver Modi. No matter the amount of press talk a lizard does, the crocodile is still his father.